Welcome back, everybody, for part two of the Epstein Saga, where Art and I are going to be discussing what we know, what we don't know, and really what everybody else is talking about, and why it is or is not important. Again, I'm your host, Ryan, here with Art. Art,
How you doing, everybody?
so there's been a lot of conspiracy theories. There's also been a lot of just regular theories about who this guy Epstein was and what he was doing. And what Art and I here at Englebrook Independent Views want to do is really get down to the facts, what we can say for certain, and not get caught up in conjecture or in connecting the dots that may or may not connect at all. So the first thing I should say, Art has been doing quite a bit of extensive research on Epstein, and so we're going to talk about what he's been able to find, and if needed, we can cite our sources, unlike a lot of people on the internet. So first, let's just go back to the basics. What do we know about this guy Epstein, just in general terms? What are the basics that we know about him?
What would you like to know about him exactly? I mean, he was where he was born.
Well, no,
What?
I mean, so we know that he got into the Dalton School without any qualifications, which is a little unusual, not impossible, not like anything like that's never happened before. But the Dalton School is a very prestigious school in New York City, and it's a college prep school, and it's for the very powerful, rich, and wealthy. He got in there teaching mathematics and physics without actually ever having finished a degree in either of these fields when he was at
Correct.
university. He was asked to leave under circumstances where it is suggested he was acting inappropriately towards students. And after that, he got picked up to be at Bear Stearns.
And
All of this is correct so far? Yeah.
yes, and then he went on at Bear Stearns, and within 4 years, he became a limited partner of Bear Stearns, but then basically left under a cloud of suspicion of insider trading. I mean,
As
I
I
have
understand it, it was actually the Bear Stearns internal auditing system that found inconsistencies with his work where they asked him to leave. Is that
correct,
correct?
correct. But the SEC was notified of some discrepancies because all uh, stock houses and all brokerage firms have a compliance officer in there, and they're obligated to report what they find. So,
Right. And then after that, he starts working at Tower Financial, and there's a big scandal there.
yeah, there was a huge scandal there. Basically, Tower Financial was a company that bought that and then ended up being a stock trader. And basically, Epstein created a Ponzi scheme. And the actual CEO of Tower Financial went and got sentenced to 20 years. And Epstein basically walked away with $17 million. And that was the start of his, going.
And this is essentially really the start of where people are getting these wild ideas from is, how did he escape justice, or how was he not implicated? How was he able to go free? Um,
He was
we
a
don't know.
rat. I figure he was a rat. He was supplying information. That's what, and when they came knocking at the door, he basically said, I have nothing to do with it. He insulated himself from being directly involved with the corporate structure of any business that he got involved in.
Well, as I understand it, his next business venture was an independent consulting firm where he would not take on a client who who was worth less than $1 billion. So this
Correct.
means it was a very small amount of people across the world, and the rest was governments. Do you know of any scandals or anything that happened there that was of any note?
No, he went, but then he left, and after that, he went on with Leslie Waxner. He went on with him, and then formed another company. And basically, it's just a big bunch of speculation with everything he did. I mean,
Well, I
I
mean,
have,
with Wexner, we do know that some unusual things happened. For example, he, in a very short time, had power of attorney over Wexner and his finances, which may not have been what, or I should say, some of the speculation about that is that it was a way for Wexner to distance himself from the decisions that were made so that if anything happened, he had plausible deniability. There's
correct.
also people who suggest that there was blackmail involved. There's people who suggest that Epstein was lying to him. And I mean, no one really knows for sure, but it was an unusual relationship that they had, correct?
No, there's a lot of unanswered questions there with Wexner, what exactly happened, but nobody's ever going to get to know really what happened. I mean, all my research I did, I found that basically he bamboozled Wexner into certain things and then probably helped Wexner hide money and then used that against him from what I see. I mean, everybody's blowing this thing up like it's this big conspiracy theory between financial institutions, international money laundering, everything else. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. It's just a constant, meeting people. And he came up because he was very good in mathematics, came up ways to hide money and be a tax consultant to, move money from there to the Virgin Islands, to this bank, to that bank, and then bring the money back. I mean, everybody's sitting here looking at like he's some master, spy or something like that. He's not. He was a thief and he
So we
was
know
a
that he was intelligent. We know that he was charismatic. We know that he was able to worm his way or work his way into the upper echelons of society. Um, One of the things that I kind of want to come back to that a lot of people keep forgetting is, they say, well, he knows all these people. Look at all the people in his address book. Well, rich people all kind of know each other. They all have very similar interests. Staying wealthy and maintaining whatever power that they have or whatever status, um, societal status that they have. So it's not strange for a rich person in the United States to know rich people all across the world. Do you
correct.
have any disagreement, or
No, that's usually how it goes. And I mean, his connections go back to when, with Bush and with George W. Bush and with the Crown Prince. And he did have a passport that had a Crown Prince's address on it. Now you got to remember the Bushes, George W. Bush's father was involved with the Carlyle Group, which was a big out of Saudi Arabia. That was all the Crown Prince, the King of Saudi Arabia. That was all their money put into that.
so that would be Bandar bin Sultan Al Saud, aka Bandar Bush, who was a
Right,
great friend of the Bush family,
right.
who apparently was someone that Epstein was familiar with. There's some dis- there's some discussion about what that relationship was, whether it was purely financial or whether there was more to it. For example, there's allegations that Douglas Leese, I believe that's how it's pronounced, was a British arms dealer, and that Bandar bin Sultan Al Saud had introduced the two of them together. Again, allegations, speculation. We don't know for certain what if that actually happened, and we don't know for certain if there were any financial transactions there. So one of the things that I wanted to bring this back to is, people keep talking about the Epstein Files. What could these files possibly be? And I think a lot of people are kind of what's that called when projecting. So the Never
Speculating.
Trumpers are projecting that it's going to be evidence of Trump being a pedophile too, which is going to result in him being removed from office. And the MAGA people are projecting that it's going to be the same about Democrats. And I just think that neither of those things are going to happen.
There's
And then,
nothing.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
There's nothing there. I mean, he was basically. I look at Epstein was he was a very smart, manipulative thief. That's what he was. He devised plans to hide money. But with all that going on, he was also a pedophile for years. Okay. And, you got stuff all over the internet. Everybody just needs to calm down. There's nothing there.
I think,
Okay?
well, so I think some of the reasonable people are saying, well, if there's evidence of other people engaging in criminal activities, whether it be with minors or whether it be financial, that this should be told to the American public, and that these people should face, some sort of consequence for their actions. Do you think that there's anything in those terms that is potentially useful in these files?
No, I don't. I don't think these files. Where are they?
Well,
Where
it's
are they?
it's essentially all the files from all of the court cases he was involved with, the
Oh, okay.
depositions, everything that was taken from his residences, tracing bank transfers, things like that. Looking
Yeah, well,
at
they
hi
didn't. They didn't trace half the bank transfers. The Democrats, the Finance House Committee is basically saying they forgot to, uh, investigate certain things. I mean, it's just all. He was very wealthy and he had connections and he hooked up with Ghislaine Maxwell, who was nothing but I mean, nothing but grew up in a wealthy family and had no direction in life. She hooked up with him. She afforded him. They used each other. She had connections all over the world with rich and powerful people. She introduced him to him. He had money, she had no money, so
yeah.
that's where the love romance went along. But I mean, it was a very, I mean, you keep hearing about the Epstein files. We've been hearing about Epstein files for, you know, forever, basically, from when he first got,
I think,
first,
well, not to cut you off, but I think part of the problem is that during his campaign, Trump had mentioned that there were Epstein files and that he wanted to release them. And then Pam Bondi had that whole little what do you, not photo shoot, photo op with those young people holding binders that said, Epstein files and things like that. So I think they may have talked themselves into a corner without realizing it and
yeah,
made more of
I
it
have
than there actually was.
I have the same binder. I have all the indictments. I have everything. I have all the documents. I have the bill of particulars. But there's nothing there. There's no link to Epstein was blackmailing people. I don't see it. I mean, basically what's going to come out is nothing. I don't see it. I mean, you got the Democrats jumping on the bandwagon now. Trump's not releasing it to divert attention away from something else. I mean, even to the point of Tulsi Gabbard coming out with this, that Obama and Clapper and all them did so. This is just a way to divert attention from the Epstein files. Everybody knows that Donald Trump hung out with Epstein. At one point, he called him a good friend until
Yeah.
he started being a creep at his country club. And then he threw him out. And that's what's basically happened. Epstein was able to skate because of his connections, his money, even prosecutors were probably scared of his money and the legal team. I mean, for crying out loud, he had Ken Starr, he had, Alan Dershowitz.
Yeah.
I mean, these people are $3,000-4,000 an hour. They're not your average, $250 to $500 an hour lawyer. And what they do is they do dirty, underhanded things. They turn the victim into the criminal, and that's what they do. I mean, Bill Clinton supposedly was he was on Epstein's plane and they were flying to Epstein Island. I mean, come on.
So one of the things about Epstein's Island that I wanted to talk about was, everybody has this idea that it was the whole purpose was either to develop compromising material on people, some kind of blackmail, or to get them in compromising situations to be blackmailed, or that it was, his private underage sex island. And I thought you wouldn't get that many people there if that's all it was. And second of all, if that stuff was going on there, you would want these people to have plausible deniability. So you would necessarily have to just be doing normal things like hosting fundraisers or private events. Thing like it just the idea that Epstein's island was solely used for the abuse of children to me just seems very far fetched. So I can easily see, Bill Clinton, um, what's it? The former prime minister of Israel who had visited a few times, Ehud Barak. I can easily see them going there just to meet each other and just to be a little bit out of the public eye. Whereas I think these ideas that this flight list, something happens. I'm back.
Yeah, well, you froze big time.
It just dropped.
Yeah.
Okay.
And now you got all kinds of gross. All right, now you're fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You're gonna have to do some magic cutting on that. Where did we
I
leave off?
I got it. So we'll go back to this.
Epstein Island.
No, 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 no. I know. I'm pausing so I can make cuts. Really, I think what it comes down to is, I think it just doesn't make sense to expect that everybody that Epstein knew was involved in what he was involved in terms of the pedophilia. And I think it really, like you said, it's about the money. It's about the influence. It's about being able to make these connections. And if you're talking about international banking, a lot of people want to hide money or they want to move it around very quietly. And if Epstein was able to do that for them, and I think that kind of that was his value to these people. That's why he was able to run in these circles, and that's where he made his money. I mean, earlier today you mentioned the tax avoidance consultations that he used to do. What
Right.
what was that the number that he got for that?
Well, basically, he would teach people how to, without, like I said, if you had $1 billion and he could show you not how to pay tax on it, you'd be more than happy to pay him 50 or $60 million to do that.
Yeah,
Okay, now the Democrats supposedly have brought up that there's over 4,700 suspicious wire transfers in and out of his bank. Let me explain something to you. The Virgin Islands, Epstein Island down there, that was down there so that he could hide money through the Virgin Islands, through the Cayman Islands, and all that other stuff. I really truly believe that.
yeah. I mean, to me, it makes sense that he was in finance. He found a way to move money around, and very wealthy, powerful people liked that, and they wanted that for themselves. So that's why they associated it with him. And it's also one of the reasons why they kind of ignored what they knew was going on, because he was useful.
That's right. And those people had people that worked in government, were able to make a phone call and say, back off on this guy. Like I said, I just don't see anything coming out of this. It's most of it's speculation. You can watch. I mean, I've seen shows, private people discussing this on YouTube. It's all speculation. It's all speculation. And like a friend of mine told me a long time ago, you have a friend that wants to kill themselves, and if you get too close, a suicide turns to a homicide. So the Democrats better watch out what they're doing just in case there's something in there. I mean, you can look at, if you look at like the Clintons, okay, they didn't come from money. They made their money after with foundations and all this other, charitable donations and that, and getting NGO money with the Dominican Republic and Haiti and all that. Who knows what went on? But all I know is there's no, excuse me, I sore throat. The only thing I don't understand is why is there such a fascination with this guy? He was nothing but a grimy pedophile that had a lot of money. That's how I look at it. I have spent weeks reading over the transcripts, from the indictment, reading over different things about him. Like I said, the only one I could see he had sex with was that he supplied a young girl to was Prince Andrew because he
Yeah.
basically admitted it. I mean, there was rumors that were flying around that it was, Alan Dershowitz, but nothing was ever proved. There's things with Bill Clinton. There's things with Donald Trump. I mean, they got ads on TV today blasting Trump to release the files and putting him in that you like younger women. I mean, come on. I don't see anything. And
So I'm
go ahead.
just I'm not a big Trump fan, but I'm also not a Trump hater. And I can say this about Trump: we know pretty much everything about him. there's not a lot about him that's secret. Like you know, whether it was his real estate deals in New York where people got stiffed or claimed that they weren't paid properly or whatever,
Right.
we all know about that. Um, the fact that he likes supermodels, we all know about that. And so I think if there was an aspect to him where there was anything, illegal towards minors, we would already have known about it. It's not he's not a man of many vices, and two, he doesn't keep secrets well. So I just don't see, yeah, there being anything in any files that the government has about Epstein, uh, being any kind of damning evidence against Donald
No.
Trump for anything, unless it was some kind of money laundering scheme or tax avoidance scheme, which pick a person in Washington and see if they're not guilty of that.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, like I keep going on, I don't want to keep kicking a dead horse, but I don't see anything. And here's the thing, you got Democrats and you have I call them the Pez heads on the like left media over there, MSNBC and CNN, and they're all talking about how Trump is avoiding this and that. There's nothing there. Why didn't Merrick Garland bring all this out when he was the Attorney General for 4 years? He hates Trump. That's proven.
Yeah. And this is one of the reasons why I think it's not, I don't want to call it a hoax, but I think the idea of tying Trump to this is kind of a dead end. Because if there really was something there, they would have brought it out during the Biden administration or during the election cycle. And it's possible that the political calculus that, has changed since. But again, I think it's probably anything, if anything, financial crimes, and that's it. And we're never really going to get to the bottom of it because either the people that are involved are too good at covering it up, or there's just not enough evidence.
I mean, you got the Democrats and their, the left media saying, why did Todd Blanche, Deputy U.S. Attorney, going down to visit Ghislaine Maxwell today? They met, okay? If she had something, he's going down there I think he's really going down there to put an end to all this nonsense. That's what he's going down there for. If she had some supposed client list and had all this other stuff, why is she sitting in jail for 20 years?
Yeah,
She could have turned that in and, if she was actually blackmailing like her friend said she was, that could have all come out and she wouldn't be sitting in jail for 20 years. I don't think she has anything. I think they were both just some deranged, had money, thought they were smarter than everybody else. Because of their money, they thought they had power and they could do whatever they want. I mean, for crying out loud, she's in love with Jeffrey Epstein, but yet she's going out and getting them 14-year-old girls. Come on, think
yeah. I
about it.
don't. I don't think she was in love with him at all.
Yeah.
All right. So just to wrap this all up, my view is if he was involved in the intelligence agencies in any way, I find that highly interesting. But really. I don't find it to actually factor into our current political situation or our current economy or anything really that's affecting us today. It's an interesting story for sure. He's enigmatic. There's big gaps in his life story that just don't make a lot of sense. But again, that's just to me what makes it interesting. It doesn't indicate that there's anything here that's actionable.
I agree. I don't think there's anything. I mean, I really think what he was going back, I don't want to keep being redundant, but the point is what I'm getting at is I think he knew how to manipulate people. He knew how to tell people what they wanted to hear. And then from there, he had this deep pedophilia trait in him. And he just went on. Ghislaine Maxwell came into the picture. She was broke. He needed her. She needed him. He got wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. He built up connections. He thought he could do anything he wanted to do. And people just started cutting ties with him. And when it
Yeah,
got so bad, they arrested him and they said, enough of this. A lot of this went on where they held off arresting him because of he thought that they thought maybe political figures were in it, and once they went through it, they found out there was nobody there. I mean, like I said, Pam Bondi, I got a lot of respect for her. She was a great attorney general for the state of Florida, but she shot her mouth off. getting back to Pam, getting to Pam Bondi when she released that thing with those social media influencers in the binder. I have all the same paperwork as they had. There's nothing there. She just should have just said, we're going to review the stuff and we'll release what we find when we find it.
Yeah.
She
No,
said
agreed.
there's,
So I think, to all our viewers out there, I know it's disappointing to hear this, but if any of the more files get released, if any more information gets released, transcripts, etc., be prepared to be disappointed. Like we said, it's just going to turn out that this guy was a creep and, into financial crimes, and that there's, even if it can be linked to anybody who's in any political station right now, I'll bet that there's either not enough evidence, it's going to be brushed under the rug, or statute of limitations is up. So if people want to dig into the files, I'm all for it, but I'm not holding my breath for anything.
I'm not, and all I'm going to tell everybody out there right now is everybody just calm down and don't go off on tangents because no matter what they produce, the Democrats are going to say, oh, they're hiding stuff. They're going to, the Republicans are going to say they're hiding stuff because of there's Democratic elected officials that are in there. Everybody just needs to take a deep breath and realize this was just a grimy individual that preyed on young children, was able to bamboozle the government out of money by transferring money all over the place. There's nothing there. Nothing. He killed himself because he realized he couldn't get out of this and he was going to have a tough time in prison. That was basically it.
Entirely possible and plausible. Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for tuning in to Englebrook Independent Views. Good night. Oh, don't forget to subscribe.